Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the February Steering Legislative and Governmental Committee meeting to order. The first item of business is call on Vice Chairman Commissioner Gooch for approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve those minutes.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we need to fill a vacancy on the Conservation Board. We have, I believe, just one applicant for that board, Mr. Brandon. And I believe all of you have already received this application. As part of our, I guess, tradition, Mr. Brandon, would you care to address the committee and express your desire to serve? we need you to talk because we got nothing else to talk about.
No, I just want to thank the commissioners for allowing me to serve several years, and also the mayor. We work closely with the mayor. And when I started several years ago, it's been almost 40 years in recreation, county recreation. County recreation was really zero. And Mr. Joe Black Hayes, now he's at Adams Place, and he was the one that came forward and said, the county needs recreation. And today, we have over 25 sites in Rutherford County, and we're growing. So I'd have to thank Joe Black Hayes for county recreation. Also for the new Lane Agri Park. When we first started, we was at Old Fort Park, and now we've moved to John Rice Boulevard. And with the work of the commissioners and the mayor, we have one of the finest facilities in Tennessee in the Lane Agri Park. So I really enjoyed working Conservation Board, and we've done a lot. And also, again, like I said, we appreciate the commissioners and the mayor in working with us.
Mr. Brandon,
Thank you.
I appreciate your service. And could you describe some of the things that y'all do actually on that board? I mean, as far as
Okay, we currently oversee
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
the extension service out at John Rice Boulevard. Now, we're not directly related to it, but we currently work with them.
Right.
And in county recreation, if you go to all the communities, about 25 sites, you'll see the softball playgrounds and so forth. We don't build facilities, but we help maintain them and encourage people. Now, really, it's very minimum money provided by the county. It encourages the communities. We got a lot of community workers, a lot of presidents that spend a lot of extra time. And things are so great that we had a president at Kittrell. He moved to another community, but he loved his job so well, he came back this year to be the president of the Kittrell community. So if you go out in the county and go to most of these softball fields, baseball fields, in the condition they're in, they're beautiful. It's a result of the Conservation Board.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate that. And now, going back to that, does this county, does they maybe donate a little money towards the fields?
Now they have two ways of gaining money. They have a grant, which is outright money, and then they have a matching fund. A matching fund, then I provide so much money to get the matching fund.
Yes.
And each year in February, we make a trip to the sites, and they will show us what they have done with the money and so forth, and then they have to come back and give a written report. And they'll have to show every penny they spend that goes to the communities.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Brandon?
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve this
Second.
nomination.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion? All's in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon.
Thank you. Next, we need to fill a county historian vacancy. And I believe we've only received one application for this vacancy, Mr. Greg Tucker. Mr. Tucker, would you care to address the committee?
Well, briefly, I'm fortunate that my favorite hobby is something that I can share with other people, and that I've come to appreciate that they enjoy it, they learn from it. And I'd certainly be flattered and honored to have this title from the commission, but also I'd be flattered to be the successor to Ernie Johns, who's had this position for some 30 years. Be glad to answer any questions, tell you a little history of the room if you're interested.
I'd just like to say, Mr. Tucker, I read a lot of his articles that he puts in the paper, and it seems like he's got his stuff together as far as the history of Rutherford County. Anybody else got any more questions?
You have too many references on here.
Oh, you can pick your two favorites.
No, we appreciate your service.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, to show your love for the county, on Valentine's Day, February 14th, you'll be voted on by the full county commission for appointment.
So I'll be with the DAR on the same day.
Well, there you go.
Colonel Hardy Murphy.
There you go. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, any other business? Mayor?
Yes. Okay, what we have here tonight is an amendment to a private act, and the reason I've not given you guys any notice on this, we just got this really finished today, so and we need to get this down to our legislative delegation if we're going to get it in this year's session. Okay. All right. Now the sheriff can join us up here if he wants to. He's had a part in this discussion, but in any event, this probably, we've got any number of private acts, okay? And some of them are old and ancient, and they, from time to time, they create some confusion. And in this particular case, there's been a little bit of confusion about what our general session judges can do and what part they can play in law enforcement. And it's, we've taken this bit of opportunity here to see if we can sort of clean up some of this. So there is an existing private act that was amended last. First it was written in 1947, then it was amended in 1977. And there's some things in there that we don't think is appropriate, and they're not doing these things. Like, currently it says they can execute and serve warrants, their officers, their employees that they have. They can take charge of prisoners. They can perform any number of other duties for other boards and committees, preserve the peace and protect the citizenry, investigate the request of the sheriff, county judge, or other judges, enforce wheel tax laws. They have the same powers and duties that our constables at once had, including authority to effect arrest and to go armed when in the performance of the duties of the office, etc. Those things they don't do, haven't done for years and years, and it's created a little bit of, I guess you could say, a little bit of concern on the part of the sheriff and the judges as to what they really can do and can't do. Therefore, what we've done, and I've discussed this with all the judges, and we have their consent and their approval, and I've discussed it with the sheriff. The stuff that was in there before is basically being repealed and replaced with just this simple piece of paper you see right here.
That's
And
what we have on here then?
what you have on here is what we're proposing to put in place. And it specifically lists those 4 different types of employees, you might say, that they do have currently. Some of them are specific. But it says the judges of the general sessions courts, which includes the probate courts, and the probate court in our general sessions is Judge Brandon's court. But he is the general sessions court. And the Independent Juvenile Court of Tennessee are authorized and empowered to appoint qualified persons at least 18 years of old to serve as court officers, which may include the offices of legal secretary, law clerk, civil/probate court coordinator, and juvenile court magistrate for the said courts. So those 4 offices, they don't all have one of those. There's only one juvenile court magistrate. That's in juvenile court. There's only one civil probate court coordinator, and that's Judge Brandon's person. 3 of the judges have law clerks, and 2 or 3 of them have legal secretaries. So we've made this broad enough to allow them to have those types of positions, and whose primary duty shall be to attend and wait upon those courts, to maintain order and decorum in the courtrooms, to perform such other duties as the courts may prescribe, etc., and to perform the duties as defined in the job descriptions, which we do have for all of these 4 positions, for said offices as adopted by the county legislative body. I'm not going to read every word of this, I'm just going to point out. And those duties of the officer, etc., shall subscribe, they shall take an oath, and they shall display a badge of some sort that the judges determine what's appropriate, and they shall be entitled to compensation from the county treasury in such amount and upon such terms as the county legislative body shall determine from time to time. The commission will determine by budgeting processes how many of these folks they have and what you pay them, which is the way it's done right now. That language is not being changed. Therefore, that's really all this says. We've taken anything out that was in the area of or inferring law enforcement authority and duties which they don't have, and that has made it agreeable on behalf of the sheriff, and the judge is okay with this too.
How's it being conducted now?
It's just the way I've got it written and changed to. That's the way it's done now.
That's the way it's being done now.
But the private act reflects other
Okay.
stuff that's not even close to this in some respects.
So the judge has already got a court officer per se
Yeah,
in his court, but he or she's not a
he's not a law enforcement person.
person.
They're not serving warrants. They're not arresting people. They're not going armed. So we're removing that from the current private act and simply replacing with this, which reflects what they're doing and what everybody agrees they should do.
And we need to approve this in the full commission by 2/3 vote, I see.
Well, yeah, you can send it on to Nashville. When it comes back, you'll have to approve it 2/3. It won't be effective.
Right.
Mr. I got one question. Currently, you said that they do constable type, what constable used to do,
They have the authority to do that, even though they don't do
They
it.
do it.
The private act says they do.
and that they can currently go armed. Can they currently go armed in the courthouse?
They don't now.
Can they?
Well, I don't know.
No, well, there are some discussion,
Yeah, you coming up here anyway.
Yeah. All this came up with me learning my job and trying to learn everything I needed to know that I could find out. And so I went through the private act. And well, the question came, and I went to the mayor and said, hey, do I have to have court officers here? Because the private act says it's, so there was discussion. What you're asking, right now, no. It's in the way that the Tennessee law reads, they have to be post-certified officers. Everything that's in there, this was before post. So the laws have changed, but our private act has not kept up with.
But if a judge wanted to
No.
go armed,
I've got an issue going on, and right now post is telling me unless they're deputized and they work for me, they cannot carry a weapon inside the courthouse.
Even if they have a permit to carry.
Yeah, even if they have a
They have to
Judge
leave
can-
it downstairs.
Leave
leave
it outside.
it in the car.
Oh, in the
leave
car.
it-
The
leave it
judge
in-
can't go armed?
Judges can. Judges are the exemption.
well, that's what I'm.
That's what he's
my
asking,
question.
Judge.
Oh, I thought you said
Yeah.
court officers.
No, I'm
Oh,
talking
judges.
about a
Yes,
sitting
judges.
judge.
Yes, sitting
Judge-
judges can. They got a provision in the law where they have to go through a qualification, but yes, they can.
And this
carry.
doesn't change that.
This does
No,
not
no,
change
no.
that.
This is just directing those people that.
I apologize.
No,
no, I'm sorry.
I was
I
something
probably
else.
wouldn't.
That's why, because that was confusing me, because I thought,
Yeah.
I knew that the
Yeah.
judge could.
Yeah, judges can. Yes.
That was my only question.
Yeah, I brought it up last month when we met with our state representatives, that we got private acts that you wouldn't believe that need to be changed. And they promised that if we get them and update them and whatever, and we send them down, they'll take care of them, you know. But that's not the only one. It's tons.
This
of
is
them.
just one we're working on. There's a few others, but this one was one of the more important ones.
If there's no other questions, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve it and send it on.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion?
Well, and just clarifying, it doesn't change the security in any way, form,
No.
or fashion in this,
No.
in this area. Okay.
Commissioner Blythe?
Who would pay these officers? Is it coming out of the sheriff's
No,
budget,
no.
or is it
You know,
coming?
the county general is paying them. County general pays all the general session judges. They are full-time judges that's paid by the county. including the juvenile judge, and their employees are paid by the county. You pass that budget every year for each one of the general sessions judges and the juvenile judge.
Now, we're mandated from the state what we pay them,
Yep,
but we have to pay.
it's in your budget.
taxpayers, Yeah.
Taxpayers pay it.
Right, I didn't know where they come out of the judge's budget, I mean, general sessions budget on
The general session judges have their own little budget, and that's not any part of the sheriff's budget.
Any other discussion?
The 18 years of age bothers me somewhat. But I throw that out there. I realize that probably appointments would not be made of people that young, but that could be a high school student.
Well, I mean, that's been that way. We didn't change that.
Yes.
And of course, some of the, they do have a legal secretary in some of those high school education plus some special training, maybe all that they've had.
Well,
we can think on that, and you guys can think on it a bit, and if there's a problem with that, we could change it at the commission meeting, but
Well, I'm wondering if
nobody's raised that issue, and I didn't think about it.
well, I didn't mean, I meant that an 18-year-old person could be a high school student, be one, not a high school education. They may not have graduated yet. That's pretty young to be a court officer, I would think. But I think the principles are solid. Other than that, I didn't vote for it. But
That's a minimum requirement, though.
that's right. That's a minimum. I doubt if any judge would not do that.
The law clerks are basically, most of them are either college graduates or nearing completion of a college degree. They're in law school, most of them
most
already.
of them in law school.
So but some of the legal secretaries might not be that 21 years old yet.
I think
Any
it's
other
a good
discussion?
fix for our first one.
They already doing
They'll
it.
be
Yeah,
more
many
difficult.
more,
They'll
yeah.
be more difficult as we go forward.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Ah.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
You got a copy? Here, I got
I
plenty.
got one. Any other business? Move to adjourn.